horror and horror films. When I was 10 years old, my parents were growing ever more concerned. I was particularly into murder/gore porn, Saw and Hostel, that kind of stuff. They wanted to redirect my interest into more of the classics, the older stuff, and help me have more of an understanding of it. So when I was 10 years old in 2010, they signed me up for a class at Nassau Community on the cinematic history of horror and horror films. There was just one problem. You had to be 18 to register for the class. So my dad signed himself up and brought me along with him. It was an October night. He took me there. I was very nervous. I was very shy. I still am. I hated meeting new people. We pull into the parking lot. I just wanted to head home. I was begging my dad to go home. He called my mom and they said, just give it a try one class, and if you don't like it, you can leave. You can just not come back. I remember going from the parking lot into the college, into the classroom, and waiting there for half an hour. Then the teacher, Keith, showed up. A little bit about Keith. He's a film historian on Long Island. He teaches about horror and horror films at Hutton House and Nassau Community. He goes and does library presentations. He does presentations at old folks' homes, at country clubs, pretty much everything. He transfers films. He was trained originally as a projectionist. He's directed a few films. He does a lot in the industry. But he was very loud and enthusiastic. I felt comfortable immediately when coming in. He's been studying this stuff since he was younger than I was then, and he made me feel at home. It was a 4-week class. He went over the history of horror and horror films from the 1930s all the way to the 1970s. He went over the industry, the actors, the culture, depending upon what era. So the first class he went over the 1930s, and he talked about the culture of the Depression and the actors, Bela Lugosi, Boris Karloff. And he also showed, before people had films at home, they had whole movies at home. They had what were called Castle Digest, which was a condensed version of a film. It was a beginning, middle, and end. It was usually 15 minutes long. He showed a bunch of those each class except for the last. He showed The Incredible Shrinking Man, Dracula, Frankenstein, The Invisible Man. One scene that sticks out to me in particular is in The Incredible Shrinking Man, when he's smaller than a spider, and that's tarantula, and the tarantula is going after him, and he's on the ground, and he takes a sewing needle and stabs it in the tarantula, and blood starts oozing out onto his hand. Anyway, after those classes, I was hooked. I was going to a lot of Keith's classes at Nassau Community and at libraries. I was finding those old films. I retook some of those courses, and he changed up the material for me over the next 2 years. In 2012, he had come to me and said that he and his wife had just bought a house, and he was looking into having an advanced course at his place, where he shows a whole film and there's a class discussion. I loved the idea. So in 2012, I drive up to his place. It looks like just a normal Long Island suburban house. On the inside, it's a horror movie museum. The way in which people have art reprints on their walls, he has horror film posters on every wall in his house, every room. He has horror monster figurines in his living room. When I went to Prague, he made sure to ask me to get him a golem because they're from Prague originally. He still has that in his living room. He has a tarantula and scorpion encased in glass on his coffee table. He has a noose hanging in his living room. He has one poster that sticks out to me in particular. He changes out all of his posters every 6 months, but one poster he keeps, that he never changes, is for the flesh eaters, and it has the caption, "Those of you who are not already dead will be sterilized with fear." So every class, it's a different, so every month it's a different session. He shows 4 films, one a week, and it's supposed to be connected with something that can be an actor, a country of production, a company of production, a different genre. He's had Italian Gothic month. He's had Peter Cushing month. He's had Bela Lugosi month. He's had Hammer Films month. For Halloween, he's been having Skull month, where every film has a skull in the plot, and he actually has a human skull that he used for his films that he put in the basement while he shows the films, and it just adds to it. He got it at a store called Evolution back in the 90s before they stopped selling them. But anyway, it's become more than just a class. And his wife also, she's a librarian, so she's very good at research, so she'll bring newspaper clippings or reviews and stuff to show the class. But it's become more than just a class at this point. Keith has become a friend, he's become a friend and mentor. I go over to parties at his place, he goes over for dinner at my place. He has special screenings which I go to see at his place. One in particular, how many of you guys here have heard of Ed Wood? In the 70s, when Ed Wood's career was in the toilet and he needed to make money quick, he thought, nobody loses money on porn. So he directed a porno called The Young Marrieds. He actually directed a few, but he directed a porno called The Young Marrieds. It was missing for years. It was found in a movie theater somewhere in Canada, and Keith just so happened to know the guy who found it and got a copy and had a special screening at his place, so I was able to see a lost film that way. But Keith and I have become good friends. He is and his new film, it's kind of a family affair. My dad is going to be acting in it. My sister's going to be designing some art for it, and actually I saw Keith last night, and he asked me about being a PA for it. So.